everybody, it is Maddie here today. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. Today we're sitting down to talk about Oblivion Remastered once more as I inch my way to that final verdict video. I know I said it'd be coming this week, but might have been a white lie. I'm reviewing something right now that we'll talk about shortly, but also we're pitching our game this week. So it's a really exciting time for our team, but because of that, I have been completely absorbed by preparing for that. So I apologize that I've slacked a little bit on Oblivion Remaster, so I will make it up for you hopefully next week. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, this Oblivion Remastered video is focusing on the incredibly obvious thing. We all knew what was going to happen, except for Bethesda, who refused to do this type of game for years and years and years. And I'm so happy people are putting their money where their mouths have been for like over a decade with these remasters, because maybe Bethesda will go, oh shit, oh, they want to buy that, guys. Wow. Did you, anyone else in this room expect that they would buy the Oblivion Remaster? I mean, who else has been begging for it forever? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today, we're going through two things. We're going through the stats, the data. Just how well is Oblivion Remastered selling? We're going to talk about that. In turn, we're going to talk about the aftermath and what it means beyond the very obvious Fallout 3 remaster, but also the future of Bethesda's catalog and what Mr. Todd Howard told me, which just may have been a little bit of a white lie. Got fooled in real time. We'll talk about that. Plus, we're talking about Virtuos taking suggestions for Oblivion Remastered and what that can mean for future support of the game. Because I think with this type of money, this many copies out there in the wild, Game Pass, I think there's a world where they do like actual support for Oblivion Remastered. So we'll talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with Bethesda, consider subscribing. Okay, let's start off with the data. Matt Piscatella of Circana writes, after just 1 week in the market, Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered is already the third best-selling game of 2025 in the United States in the terms of money sales, trailing only Monster Hunter Wilds and Assassin's Creed Shadows. It was the best-selling game of the week. For reference, Monster Hunter Wilds has already sold a whopping 10 million copies in a month. And for Assassin's Creed Shadows, it was selling over 2 million with over 3 million players. And with Oblivion Remastered, the only actual number we got was 4 million players. Now, these stats do include digital sales as well for Microsoft. It's digital across the eShops, Steam, Xbox, all of those are included as well, which sometimes metrics aren't included like that. So what you've got here is an amazing top-of-the-year seller already from Bethesda Game Studios, which speaks to multiple things. One is the pull Elder Scrolls still has to this day, because, again, with no Elder Scrolls entry since Skyrim, the people were hungry. And the one tactic that Todd Howard has in his back pocket that he talks a lot about, but I don't think we acknowledge enough because it's right very often, even if it sucks for us as fans, is there is a truth to missing something for a long time drives Bethesda sales crazy. You missed Oblivion, and look what's happening, right? And what's going to continue to happen. This game's not going to slow down anytime soon. It is going to be probably within the top 10 by the end of this year. And that's incredible for a remake/remaster. That's an interesting part of the conversation too, though, is what Bethesda has told many of us, myself included. Remember when I sat down to interview Todd Howard? One of the best moments of my life. I didn't know I was getting a white lie fed to me when I asked about like remasters of, say, Fallout or Elder Scrolls, and he's like, no, we're not really focusing on that. And at the end of the day, I'm sitting there knowing the FTC document exists. I'm like, okay, bro, whatever. I know you're full of it, but you know, it's one of those tough spots in an interview where like, is he actually going to tell me, oh yeah, we're actually working on Oblivion Remastered? But one thing Bethesda has been so persistent about is that when it comes to remasters, they're pretty much never going to claim it as a remake, even if Oblivion Remastered has a lot of remake elements to it, particularly in the visuals. Even in their launch letter here, they say literally word for word, we never wanted to remake it, but remaster it, where the original game was there as you remember playing it, but seen through today's technology. And that is going to be the standard for whatever you see in the terms of remasters from Bethesda moving forward, whether it's Fallout 3, Skyrim. It's going to happen. I'm telling you all, it's going to happen. That's an easy one for them to do. Even maybe I would say Morrowind, if you want to go deeper.
Morrowind,
that might be more of a remake, in my opinion. But you know, let them cross that bridge when they get there. Still, this is a no-brainer, right? Everyone who's a fan of Bethesda knew this would print money for them. It's why when I covered things like the Fallout New Vegas remaster or the Fallout 3 remaster, I literally said people would line up to buy it full price. Now, Bethesda, being smart, was like, oh, more people will line up to buy it full price if we put it below the price that people were expecting it to be, which in the case of Oblivion was over-delivering in a lot of areas and then was asking for 50 from you. Worked out really well for them where they could have easily charged, I think, 70 with the nostalgia, the hype, the zero wait. It was all there, perfectly done, where people just would have sprung on it regardless. So we already know Fallout 3 Remaster is on the way. That was on the FTC document. That's been proven to be accurate multiple times. The insiders who have been behind a lot of the Oblivion leaks have said that Fallout 3 is coming. So we know it's happening next. And I just hope this does spur on New Vegas. I do hope this spurs on, I'm sorry, I'll say it. I hope it spurs on Skyrim. Like, I will take Skyrim again. I hope this spurs on Morrowind as well. I would love to try Morrowind with the way Bethesda's described it here. Like, we're not going to remake it, but we're going to remaster it. It's like, well, what does that look like? Because Morrowind is a really high bar to cross in the terms of like entry level. How do you make that a little bit more accessible? And I think the answer is if you want to retain the original spirit of that game, you can't. Because let's say you make like, oh, when you swing your weapon, you hit an enemy. It's like, okay, well, if they take that away, you just ruin the whole skill system of the game. You just can't do that. So what does Bethesda do other than re-release it and make it a little more pretty and keep it as hardcore as it was? I think that would be awesome. But I hope this does open their eyes to like, it doesn't stop at Fallout 3, that they keep going beyond that more and more and more. And especially, I think on that list, New Vegas better get that treatment, man. Imagine New Vegas looking like what we're seeing with Oblivion Remastered. That'd be incredible. Now, speaking of a world where Bethesda's taking suggestions, we've got some for them, no? And they're asking for it. PC Gamer covered how Bethesda is calling on players to suggest, or at least where developer Virtuos goes from here. In a channel on its Discord called Oblivion Suggestions, players are pouring in with ideas, beliefs, opinions, and notions. And so this is where people get a little carried away. Like, some folks are calling for some seriously high-level tasks, like completely redoing the entirety of the leveling system for Oblivion, which I think if Bethesda wanted to do that, they would have held off on releasing this and squeezed that into the final product. I think other things that people are asking for, like massive quest lines, are kind of ridiculous, but it's the type of ridiculousness I can get down for. I think if we're looking into the future, how Bethesda does their thing, right? They usually add creations to their games. Right now, there's no official mod support. People are still modding it anyway, but there's no official mod support. And I know Bethesda well enough to know they're going to want to turn this into a platform. This is the new home for Oblivion because it respects the original so much that many of the old school Oblivion fans have been like, yeah, you know what? This is where I'm always going to go to come back to play Oblivion year in, year out. So with that in mind, Bethesda would be silly to not, with a modernized version of one of their most popular games, try to find a way to put creations in there. And why is that important? Because that's money for them, but that's also limitless replayability for those of you out there who don't have a PC and can't mod. Ignoring all of the hurdles they have to get over to make modding even a reality, if they somehow could do that. Let's just throw out there things they could change. I think a set of difficulty sliders, similar to what Starfield has, where it affects XP gains, would be fantastic. I would be really happy with that. I think Starfield figures something out there, and it would work really well in something like Oblivion, where, you know, when you get past that like level 10 to 15 area, and the game just starts to scale with you a little bit more, and you're always like tweaking your difficulty slider. I think this would be something that would be nice to have, where you can like change how much damage you do, how much damage the enemy does to you, how much XP you get out of that situation, that sort of thing. I think that sort of Starfield difficulty system would work. It would be really at home here in Oblivion, where it feels most necessary, where Starfield felt fine to me. I think it just allowed you to customize the gameplay experience a little bit more and have more fun with it in certain areas. Like for me, sometimes Starfield felt a little off with some of its starship encounters, or you'd get caught in an autosave loop and be like, dang, I really need to take out all these ships. I guess I'm just going to maximize damage and for myself and minimize theirs. So yeah, I think difficulty comes to mind immediately. Definitely performance work, definitely patch work on that front would be a huge one, in my opinion. This is something that should have been done right away, but I think because they did so much right, people are giving them grace in this process. But I would love for them to continue to patch the game up in that front. But my crazy thing, right? My crazy thing that I have written down here for future updates is actually to go out and do new DLC for Oblivion. I think if there's something crazier than a weird remake remaster hybrid for Oblivion in 2025. It's that like in 2026, it actually starts getting new stories, official news stories. One of the interesting things that Bethesda went ahead and did alongside Virtuos for this project was adding in new voice actors, showing that things under the hood that may have thought to be stamped down can be added in. The deluxe edition added new items to the game. It added a new quest to the game. These things can happen, right? So if all this can happen, we don't know how difficult it is to do, but if these things can happen, where you can put new stuff into the game, what is stopping them from going this far? Tell me. Because if you have one of the most popular games on the market right now, and you know Bethesda Game Studios, what's stopping them from re-engaging with that loop? How crazy would it be to get your first new expansion, or I'll just chill out with that, DLC for Oblivion since Shivering Isle? What would stop them from doing that? If you're a business, it makes sense because Bethesda is literally outsourcing all this work beyond their own castle walls. They're not doing a lot of this heavy lifting. It's on Virtuos supporting all of this. And given the money they're making on this, continuing that operation makes sense. Now, there's other ways they're continuing that operation. Fallout 3, but I would be singing a similar tune there. If Fallout 3, when Fallout 3 sees similar numbers to this, I'm going to be saying the same thing. Why not add another expansion? Why not add another DLC?
I know it's Fallout New Vegas would
pie in
break
the sky. There's more realistic things to tackle, like I've previously mentioned. But when I'm looking at just how big this has become, how much money they have to play with, I think to myself, why not carry it an extra step? They already kind of did the unthinkable in how they released it. But to me, what's even more unthinkable is like, we're dropping a massive expansion next year for this thing. Again, I know it sounds crazy, but like that's the type of ballpark I'm in right now. It's like, why not? Oblivion's alive again. Why not? Like, how insane would that be? The other thing is Bethesda kind of set this new standard for how remasters can be handled. The lack of a wait, the way hype builds up, the pricing it was at, and you throw in there as well just how it has remake qualities in certain areas. Why not reinvent the game again? Like, hey, the last remaster I played that got new DLC, like anything's possible after this thing, was Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning. This is a game I covered a lot on the channel. They managed to get the game out from under EA at THQ Nordic, remaster this thing. That was already crazy enough. I was just hyped to have the game back. That was crazy enough. But then all of a sudden, here comes a DLC for it. Like an actual brand new DLC for it. And they only did one, but it was one of the coolest things I ever experienced. Because I remember playing the game a ton at launch, loving it, playing the remaster a ton at its launch, loving it, and then them going, yeah, we're actually going to add new DLC in. That was crazy to me. And I don't think it got nearly enough attention like it should have when it happened. So I was like, what other game has really done this? Where they've just continued to give the game new life after its remaster, outside of Re-Reckoning. So I hope Bethesda, with a much bigger audience, and in the terms of sales, but also just eyes on their products, considers this sort of future support. I think it would be awesome. Equally awesome would be fixing the combat AI. But that's it. That's what's going on. So Oblivion Remastered, doing extremely well in the market. No doubt we're going to get more. I assume based on these metrics, Bethesda would be so dumb to not do more. Just beyond the known in Fallout 3, to not do New Vegas with what's happening in the TV show. It seems so obvious. It's what we said for a while with just the Fallout franchise. Like, why aren't you doing more of this? Do you not realize how much money it makes? Like, you don't have to oversaturate, but like, why aren't you doing more? Come on. So with this fat wad of cash just smacking them upside the head, maybe it'll wake them up a little bit. More of this would be great on top of what they're already doing. Because again, the way they did this with the outsourcing made it where I'm not worried about how this is affecting Elder Scrolls 6's timeline. As someone who's invested in those sorts of things, I'm not looking at Oblivion Remastered going, darn, that really took away from what Bethesda wanted to do with ES6. It added to it. I'm just like, oh, I hope that animation quality we're seeing in Oblivion Remastered is even better in ES6. It better be. It's still a remastered version of a 2006 video game. But you get my point. I'm rambling at this point, though. I love to see how well it's doing. It makes me happy to see Bethesda get a win. It makes me happy to see people happy and just enjoying this thing. And it makes me happy that everyone put their money where their mouth is and that Bethesda should be doing more of this beyond Fallout 3 if they know what's good for them. And Todd, if you ever come on my show again and you lie to me, brother, oh, man, watch out. That's all I'm saying. I'm just kidding. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts down below. How are you feeling about Oblivion Remastered all this time later? And what do you think of the sales figures? Fire away down below. With that, I will catch all of you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.
I don't know if there's a way, but there should They should honestly be winning Game of the Year if that was even a thing for remasters. That would be crazy.